Alright, so we're back here today. I wanted to talk a little bit more about some things associated with Lyme disease and some other ailments, but I did want to discuss just how important testing is with things. And so we test for a couple hundred different biomarkers, and our mindset, as I've discussed in previous videos, is to determine significance. So we're trying to figure out which of these systems. Is it your brain? Is your brain off? Everybody has a degree of something, so everybody has some inflammation, but is it high enough to the point where it's probably causing your symptoms? That's what testing helps you reveal. So it's very important. But a common question that we get that I want to address in this video is, do you test for each toxin? Do you test for heavy metals? Do you test for every pathogen? And we don't. And the reason being is because you're going to go on like a wild goose chase for these thousands and thousands of different viruses and bacteria and toxins and metals that you can look for, and it's not going to tell you anything. It's just going to tell you that you have them, but you got to know how to get rid of them. You got to know how the body's handling things. So for example, there's specific markers that go up and go down when you put toxins into the body. And so we've determined what values they are, so I can show you with probability, do you have this sort of toxin buildup or susceptibility based on what your labs are telling us. And so as opposed to testing for the thousands of toxins, I'm just going to look at what your body tells me in terms of toxins. And so you may be able to handle 5 pounds of toxins, which shows a specific lab marker. I might be able to handle 2 pounds of toxins, but my labs are worse than yours, which means I'm handling 2 pounds worse than you're handling 5 pounds. And so the 2 pounds is more significant for me than it is for you, despite you having more. And so if we were to just test for the toxins, you would appear to have worse amounts than me, yet I'm more significant. It's affecting me more, it's affecting my symptoms more, and there's a lot of factors at play. Genetics, all various different things, but my point is looking at what the body's response is, what the body's telling us, is much more important than finding out which type of toxin it is. Because are we concerned that, Lyme is doing certain things? Are we concerned about your Epstein-Barr virus? Epstein-Barr virus affects 90% of the adult population has Epstein-Barr virus, but only 25% of people with Epstein-Barr actually get mono. And so the question is not how do you treat the mono, it's why am I being affected by a virus that most people have that don't have any symptoms from. And so that's what we believe Lyme functions as, is that instead of testing for Epstein-Barr, instead of testing for CMV, instead of testing for all these random viruses and bacteria and toxins, let's look at the immunity. Because if your immunity is good, if your brain is good, if all these things are in balance, it doesn't really matter what you have. And a good example of that, in addition to the Epstein-Barr, is the herpes simplex virus that causes cold sores. You get more cold sores when you get stressed out because your immunity goes down. When you lose sleep, when certain things happen, you get more cold sores. Is it, do you keep using, Abreva and you're trying to get rid of the cold sore, or you try to figure out what it's doing to your immunity to allow it to come out? How are you going to keep that virus in check? And in our experience, a lot of pathogens and bacteria, and Lyme especially, function more as a virus, as to where the approach is you're much better off using an approach of how do we manage this and put it into something that's not an issue and look at everything else, as opposed to trying to eradicate it. Everybody knows that you can't get rid of a virus completely, but you can theoretically get rid of a bacteria completely. However, it's just not the case when it comes to experimental. So theoretically you can get rid of a bacteria completely, but when it comes down to it, you really are not going to get rid of it completely. And so a better approach is, how do we manage this? How do we deal with this? And you can improve yourself, get to a position of health where it doesn't really affect you anymore. And so that's what our basis is, but it's much more important to test for the body's response to bacteria, the body's response to viruses, the body's response to toxins, than it is to find out whichever ones are there, because most people have a degree of something we just need to figure out what to do about that. So I'm going to make another video later here today on a case study to try to put some of this stuff together that I've already discussed in previous videos. And as we go forward, we'll keep going, chipping away at things.